What's cooking, everyone? My name's the Chef's Life, and welcome back to another Minecraft Snapshot showcase, where today we're going to be going over content drop 3 for the year 2025, which has to do with the new Copper Golem stuff, the shell stuff, the Copper Golem statues, and a bit more stuff that did just get released with the snapshot that came out for this week. And yeah, so I am a bit late to showcasing everything. You might already know everything that has already been showcased. You might have already seen other showcases. So I'm just going to try and keep everything pretty simplistic. And so yeah, without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to show off is the new Copper Golems, of course. Here we have the spawn egg, but we won't be spawning it with the spawn egg. We also have the copper chests. And so yeah, so what we're going to need in order to make the Copper Golems is the copper blocks, of course, and a carved pumpkin. Of course, it has to just be a carved pumpkin, not a pumpkin or a jack-o'-lantern. And so yeah, we're gonna instead grab the waxed variants instead of the regular variants, because I don't want them to oxidize during the showcase. So yeah, we're gonna use the waxed ones. And if you do use the waxed ones, you will get the different oxidized versions. So of course, we will get a copper golem that is, you know, not oxidized. We will get a exposed. Is that right? Yeah. So exposed. We will also get the weathered and the fully oxidized, actually. And so yeah, as you can see, they are going to the nearest copper chests and they're just opening it. They're not really set to go through certain chests, so it doesn't connect to the ones that they spawn with, or if it's the same, you know, oxidized level or waxed. But yeah, so as you can see, we're gonna kind of just pick block this, and you can see that you're just gonna get the copper golem spawn egg. But if you do pick block the chest, you will get basically each variant. Well, that's interesting, actually. I think that might be bugged. These are supposed to be the waxed chest versions. At least that's kind of how it works on Bedrock. Yeah, they just seem to be non-waxed, which is not how they work. Yeah, and the ones I used are wax blocks, so not sure why that is. Might be a bug. All right, so what they essentially do is if you sort of grab a bunch of stuff, maybe you've gone out adventuring and you want to like put away your stuff, what you're gonna want to do is put your stuff in the copper chests. And if you have the same exact stuff in these sort of chests, which we have in regular wooden chests, they will basically pick them up and start organizing them. They will get curious. Oh, that's definitely bugged right there. All right, there needs to be a certain radius for them to do it. So yeah, they are gonna pick up. Oh, sorry, I did not mean to pick that out of your hand. Yeah, so they essentially pick up stuff and they try and put it in the chests that have the same exact stuff. All right, there we go. He just put in a, yep, he's putting in the crying obsidian in that chest. So this one should, instead of going through the chests over there, they should be putting all the stuff in the chests that have the certain blocks. Maybe they just can't reach it. Let me just kind of put some blocks there and they'll climb up on it. Okay, now it's going through that one. Still kind of looking through it. Yeah, so they might be a bit bugged on Java Edition. I think they were kind of very... Yeah, I think their animation is broken because the item is moving, but they're not. Yeah, it's a little broken, but that's okay. Of course, it will get fixed before the actual release. So another thing you could do is actually go up to them and just right click on them, and you can get the item that they have on them. So like this, you could get the crying obsidian or a trident. So just kind of put them in just these random chests. So we'll just kind of leave them to do their thing. Hopefully they don't get in the way. All right, so the next thing we're going to show off are the Copper Golem statues. So these are actually the first time ever we're getting statues in the game. So we do have a regular non-oxidized, and then we have weathered, or sorry, exposed and weathered and oxidized. And they all give off different signals. Well, not the different oxidization levels, it's actually the different positions they're in. So there is the regular standing position, they have a sitting position, a running, and then a kind of like a jumping jack kind of star shape position. And they each give off different signals of redstone pulses. So we have 1 right here, we have 2, and then 3, and then 4. So yeah, you could use these for certain contraptions, maybe some secret doors. So of course to rotate them, you just need to right click on them and then they'll just change their position, much like a Bedrock version armor stand. And so yeah, these are the waxed variants of the different Copper Golem statues. So you can have basically all oxidization levels and then all oxidization levels with the waxed versions, and they all give off the same exact redstone pulse. So if I were to switch this for just a regular one and put it at the same position, yeah, there you go, that'll just be that way. Boom. Alrighty, and for the next piece of content, we are getting new copper equipment. So we have both new armor pieces and then new tools, and they're each made the exact same way as you would with a regular, iron sword or diamond sword. So you just need 2 pieces of copper for a sword and a stick, and then the same goes for copper axe, shovel, pickaxe, hoe. We also have the new copper armor, and yeah, it just looks pretty fabulous. And you can find hostile mobs with copper equipment now. And if I switch to survival mode, you will see that I have about half of the total armor points you can have normally. This is basically a nice little starter armor that does just a bit more than leather and chainmail, I think. Well, definitely gold. It's better than gold. But it is slightly worse than iron. Of course, the copper sword, copper axe, and shovel, they do the exact same damage points as stone tools and weapons, but the difference is the durability and the enchantability on the enchantment table that you can use to enchant the items. It is better than stone, but worse than iron. All right, so I tamed myself up a horse real quick. So I'm just going to grab a copper horse armor and just kind of place it on it. And there you go. That's what it looks like on horses. It might look better on some horses. It might look worse on others. But yeah, this is really cool. I like that the little cloth piece right there for the armor is kind of based on the oxidization of the actual, oxidized version, of course. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. Of course, you could just, ride around in basically worse armor than iron for horses. So yeah, very niche edition, not that useful, but, very nice if you really just care about the look of your horses. And another thing I wanted to show off actually is, of course, you could just place the copper stuff in a furnace and it will convert to a copper nugget. So of course, it's going to take a bit of time. And there you go. So this is what the copper nuggets look like. Just kind of like of course, a nugget, but different shape than the gold and iron. Of course, if you have 9 of these, you can make a singular copper ingot. So I'm just going to kind of grab these just to show the inverse. And there you go. So copper nuggets, very nice. All right, and of course, you can also put on some trims. Personally, my favorite is the float trim. So I'm actually going to grab that one. Here we go. Yeah, so let's just put that on. And there you go. Now you can see that it is, trimmed up if you care to waste 7 diamonds on each part. And so, yeah, very nice if you care to use copper equipment for any kind of role play or starter kit. So I'm not sure if I mentioned, but the copper horse armor was actually something that came out with the Java Snapshot and the most recent Bedrock beta. But another thing that actually came out, it's kind of like a little addition to an existing item, is the copper rods. Yeah, or the lightning rods, I mean, where we already have the regular lightning rod, but we also now have the different oxidizations and we have different waxed variants. So these 3, 7, yeah, so these 7 are new blocks that you can use for your builds. And of course, I did make a video on the new shelf blocks, which are really cool for building, but I didn't actually show off what they do. So I'm going to just show off what they do exactly. So I'm going to need to grab some things. So let's just kind of grab this copper stuff real quick just to kind of have it. And so what they essentially do is they can hold up to 3 stacks of items. So I'm kind of doing this in a bad example. I'm going to actually need some blocks really quickly, or actually maybe just like a random amount of blocks. And so what we could do is basically place stacks of items in each little slot. So yeah, not really much like an item frame where they can only hold 1 block of whatever you want to put in it. But this actually holds an entire, stack of blocks, as well as, any kind of armor piece or tool piece that is already a singular item stack. So another cool thing is if you have them on with redstone, if you give them a redstone pulse, what they essentially do is they can switch items out of your hotbar. So as you can see, I have all the items that I put in it, all the blocks, switching out with the copper equipment that I have. So if I were to go up to 2 shells that are activated and basically switch out my hotbar, as you can see, I have put all of them all at once in 1 click, as well as for 3, it just basically switches out for all of it. So yeah, that's a really nice way to be able to switch out of your gear. And the intent of this is probably to be able to organize your gear set. So say if you want to take maybe like blast protection armor for something, and then like fire protection for another. And yeah, you just basically switch out your hotbar at ease with just a click of a button. All right, so we're nearing the end of the showcase, and one of the last things the developers decided to do is actually update all the dye textures. So interestingly enough, they do have these little brown pads, maybe pieces of cloth that are supposed to hold the dye. The new dye textures are pretty clean. I do really like them. I am a bit sad that they changed some of them. I do like that the green one and the red one are pretty similar. I do wish they were more along the lines of the shape that they already had, but nonetheless, I think I'm a fan of it. I don't think it's a big deal. I do really like it. Oh, hello. It's just the horse is staring at me doing the showcase. And yeah, so really cool. I honestly have no complaints about this. I do get why they did it, because of people with certain color blindness and they need to distinguish the shape of the items, since some of the old dye texture items were basically all the same shape. All right, so now we're going to talk about some technical things, not a lot of it because I'm not too familiar with all the technical stuff, but we are going to talk about sort of the easier things that we can. And so as of the moment, I have the game mode set to peaceful. So if you were to go to your hotbar, or sorry, your inventory, you are going to see that these spawn eggs, when you are on creative, of course, are going to show off as disabled and peaceful, which means, of course, you can't spawn them in since, you know, it's peaceful. But yeah, just a little nice thing they did. All right, so they did also change the debug menu screen. As you can see, it is a bit more spacious and they did remove some things. I did kind of adjust it myself, so it is probably not how it's going to look like by default. But another cool thing they did actually is if you hold F3 and then press F5, oh, actually I need to get rid of the debug. You actually are able to adjust the way you want your debug menu to look like, and you can actually have certain things on. So as you can see, we have biome. We're going to have that as always, and as you can see at the top, it's always going to be on display at the top, so you don't need to press F3. You can, but it will just kind of adjust to where it needs to be. So like right here under the VSync and FPS, if we turn that off, oops, wrong one, we go back to the menu, you can see that you could basically put out whatever ones you want. I do wish, actually, this is kind of my piece of feedback, that I do wish you can set the, what is it called, player position. Let's have that on always. So yeah, like this is probably not how I prefer it, because it has a lot of all this other stuff. Preferably if there was just one that you can have the XYZ by itself, that would look really nice. So that's just kind of how it would look if you were to have those two on as always. Really cool though. So you can have basically all the pieces of debug on as always. You could just have it set to on F3, but you can also have them on off if you don't really want to see it. So if I were to turn all of these on, I think, can you change it back to default? Let's see, let me put it back on default. All right, so we're gonna just put them all on F3, or at least a lot of them. It's probably gonna be really cluttered. Yep, there you go. It is extremely cluttered now. It's much more cluttered than it was by default in prior versions, but yeah, so it's a really nice feature though. So we're just gonna change that back to defaults or performance profile. Oh, okay, there we go. So you can have certain things. So we'll just press done. Oh, well, I'm not a fan of the debug charts and the integrated server bit. So yeah, that is basically what you could do. You could basically change the debug menu. You can even kind of make it like Bedrock, where you can have certain things on, certain things off, certain things while you're playing on survival, and just have like your position and your biome position. All right, so that is going to wrap up this showcase. That is pretty much everything that I prefer to talk about. There are other technical things that I preferably want to stay away from, because those are stuff I'm not familiar with. Of course, there are other people on the YouTube space that you can find showcases of for those technical things. And yeah, so that is about it for the showcase. If you guys did enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribe to keep up to date with more of my content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.